Do you like creepy books? No? Then what are you doing on this video then? Hey there, creepy peeps. My name is Nightmare Maven. Welcome back to my channel. I thought I would do something a little bit different for Creepy Book Club and do a video to introduce the next books we're gonna be reading. In case you didn't know, maybe you're new here or you just happen to miss it all the times I incessantly talk about it. I do have a book club called Creepy Book Club. We read one horror or thriller or horror adjacent book a month, and then I host a live stream where we discuss the book. We've had so many great discussions. In the past year or so, I've turned the focus of the book club more and more to POC authors, LGBTQ+ authors, neurodivergent authors, women authors, non-binary authors, because I think it's important to diversify your reading or decolonize your reading, as they say on TikTok. But if you follow me on Instagram or just on here, I am much better at posting regularly updates about Creepy Book Club on there. Also post a picture that is you'll be able to save, to keep a list of this book's handy. If you use the Storygraph app, you can also follow me on there. There's no book club feature yet on Storygraph, so I've made Creepy Book Club as a reading challenge on there, so at least you can save it and follow it to have the list of books. It's not really what the feature's supposed to be used for, but you make do with what you have. And I announced the reads 6 at a time just to make it a little bit more convenient, because I know life gets crazy and sometimes you just don't have any time to read a single book. And so I try and make it easy to jump out and back in and without feeling like you've really missed anything. So without further ado, here are the books we'll be reading in the first half of 2023. These suggestions were submitted by Creepy Book Club members, and I picked the books from those suggestions. So first up in January, we will be reading The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay. This book follows couple Eric and Andrew and their daughter Ren, who are spending a vacation in a cabin in the woods in New Hampshire. A menacing and strange group of people show up and hold the family hostage, saying that the family is supposed to help them save the world. I figured we should start off the year with this apparent twist on a home invasion story, because the movie, which is going to be called Knock at the Cabin, comes out in February. So if you were looking for an excuse to read the book before the movie comes out, you can read along with us. I've not read any of Paul Tremblay's books before, so I'm really excited to read this one. I feel like this is his most well-known one for sure. Home invasion scares the crap out of me. So I'm already excited about this. I'm excited to see what the twist is, if there is a twist. I've heard mixed reviews on the ending. I've not looked it up obviously to see what the ending is, but I've noticed people either really dig it or really don't dig it. So I'm excited to see which camp I'm gonna fall into. For February, we're gonna be reading White Horse by Erica T. Worth. I didn't realize this book existed until people came in looking for it at work. I just take a moment to appreciate this cover. I don't know what it is about the cover, but it is one of the most gorgeous covers I've ever seen. I could stare at this all day. I really don't know what it is about the cover. So the book follows Carrie, who comes into possession of her mother's bracelet. According to the summary on the book, is estranged, and Carrie just thinks her mother abandoned her as a kid. But as soon as she comes into possession of the bracelet, she starts seeing horrible, terrifying visions of her mother and this terrifying creature, sending Carrie on a mission, a quest thing to figure out what actually happened to her mom. This is being touted as a supernatural thriller that is perfect for fans of Stephen King. And as we know, Stephen King is very hit or miss with me, but I'm really excited to read White Horse. Sounds really good. Other reviews say this is a, quote, unique dark twist on the modern ghost story that deftly blends an understanding of the mysticism of indigenous culture with the horrors of poverty, abuse, and addiction. Sign me the fuck up. I can't wait to read it. And in March, we're gonna be reading The Honeys by Ryan LaSala. Simply had to pick this one because it was technically suggested twice. First in the Google form that I sent out to the Creepy Book Club members and also in the comments of my latest horror education video. This is a YA horror about Mars, who is our gender fluid protagonist. He is taking up his twin sister's place at a prestigious like summer school, I think, after her passing. Mars seeks out his sister's old friends called the Honeys, and he becomes convinced that they had something to do with his sister's death. But something else is haunting Mars in broad daylight, no less, and it's messing with his memories as he is trying to uncover the mystery of his sister's passing. Sounds like a really exciting read. I quite enjoy YA horror. I was skimming some of the reviews for this one, and a lot of people are talking about how this is a queer horror story, but our main character's queerness isn't the reason for the horrors happening to him. It does, however, of course, shape how Mars moves through the story. Apparently it's not just a horror story in the like murder, supernatural, maybe a monster, who knows sense. It deals in, quote, grief, toxic masculinity, the difference between community and conformity, misogyny, the patriarchy, conservatism, capitalism, and labor exploitation, according to reviews online. All of that is very horrifying in a real sense. So I'm excited to read this. And in April, we'll be reading Piñata by Leopoldo Gaut. This follows Carmen Sanchez, who is working in Mexico on a renovation project when an accident uncovers ancient artifacts. As you can imagine, something follows Carmen and her daughter's home back to New York. Something malevolent and unexplainable. I like to think I reject my whiteness when it comes to these sort of things. Like, I don't want to fuck around and find out. I feel no compulsion to take an ancient artifact from any place, ever, let alone even just touch it. Like the news recently about those archaeologists finding a hidden tomb in Egypt that nobody's ever seen before for like many years. Leave it the fuck alone. The sarcophagus they found like buried under Notre Dame. Leave it the fuck alone. So a story like this, where you can tell obviously somebody's going to have touched something that they shouldn't have, or they bring back something they shouldn't have, is terrifying, and that means I'm really excited to read it. And in May, just in time for Mother's Day, we're gonna be reading Mothered by Zoya Stage. I'm really here for like the quarantine horror that's like been emerging lately, obviously from these like filmmakers and authors who went through quarantine just like we all did. So Mothered follows Grace, who ends up spending a lockdown during a pandemic with her mother, asks to move in with her. Old wounds reopen, tensions grow, and Grace is sent into a nightmarish spiral as her mom digs up Grace's secrets. I love Baby Teeth by Zoya Stage. I recommend it all the time at work. I'm really excited to read this one. I love that both of them deal with a very, I'm assuming at least in Mothered, toxic mother-daughter relationship, although at least from the summary, it sounds like this one is going to be a lot different to the mother-daughter relationship in Baby Teeth, which I also highly recommend, just, you know, if anybody was looking for something to read right now. And something about the cover of this one makes me uncomfy, but like in the best way, I guess. It gives me the heebie-jeebies looking at it, and I can't quite put my finger on why. And I hope that the book gives me the same feeling. And then in June, we're gonna be reading White is for Witching by Helen Oyeyemi. This one was kind of hard for me to like sum up succinctly, so I'm just gonna read from the back real quick. The mazy house on the cliffs near Dover has been home to generations of Silver women, and it never lets them go. Reeling from the sudden death of her mother Lily, Miranda Silver is newly resident, young and bright and vulnerable. In this place where apples grow in the depths of winter and secret floors are revealed in the night, she starts to eat chalk and to hear voices. As slowly she too begins to disappear, her twin brother Elliot and her best friend Aura are left asking, where is Miranda? But only the house has the answer. And in this spine-tingling tale of magic and memory, the house isn't telling. See why it was kind of hard to describe? This feels like it's gonna be maybe not like a westernized narrative structure, might be a little bit different, so therefore exciting to read. Sounds like it's definitely going to be like maybe unreliable protagonist, not really knowing what is going on really until the end, maybe. But when I say this has been on my TBR forever, and I know I've said this about every book on the list, like how excited I am to read it. And I feel like I should be excited to read these books, right? I am so excited to finally read this. If I had to rank them right now, this would be at the #1 most excited to read, at least for me. I've wanted to read this for so long. I even ordered the cover, the UK cover, specifically because I thought it was way prettier than the US cover. That's how serious I am about reading this book. And only fellow book lovers are gonna understand why it took me so long to read it, because it just happens. You're really excited to read all of the books, but you just don't have the time. I have really high hopes for this one. I haven't read a single review because I don't want any preconceived notions going into this one. And I've done a good job of it so far, so I think it'll be fine until June when we read this. And just to wrap it up, in case you were curious, and because there is still more than enough time to grab this book and read along with us, our December pick to end out the year is going to be The Last House on Needless Street by Katrina Ward. I'm not gonna summarize this one. I genuinely think, like, if you are interested, you should just pick it up and read along with us and go along for the ride. Don't look up any reviews in case something gets spoiled for you. You really don't want anything spoiled for you. I really want to discuss this one. I have already read it, and it's one of those books that you can't discuss with anybody unless they have zero plans on reading it, because the thing that you're immediately gonna want to talk about is the twist. And it's so frustrating. So I made it a creepy book club pick so that I could get more people to read it so I can discuss it. This is our pick for December, for the whole month of December. So you have plenty of time to pick this up and read it. I highly recommend it. Really, really recommend it. So there you have it. Those are our creepy book club picks for the next 7 months, technically, since I included December. Linktree is in the description if you want to find me on Instagram or Storygraph to follow along there. And I'll post a picture on Instagram and like on the community tab on here with this list of books, so you can save it also if you want to. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new here. Become a creepy peep today. I will see you very soon with a new video. Until then, stay strange. Bye.